Let's imagine that you live in a relatively cozy 21st century. You have hot water, Google Maps, and a firm belief that the Middle Ages is something out of a movie where knights fight beautifully and everyone around wears clean cloaks. The bad news is that all of this is not true. Even worse news, you have just found yourself in the year 1096, and someone is already shouting that it is time to go liberate Jerusalem. Quietly, it's too late to panic. This is the First Crusade, and your main task is not to become part of the statistics, which historians will later call inevitable losses. In this video, you will not watch the First Crusade, you will walk it. From the cold villages of Western Europe to the walls of Jerusalem, we will follow the entire route step by step, not as historians looking back, but as someone who has to survive the journey. You are not a spectator here. You are hungry, unprotected, surrounded by fear, belief, and violence. Along the way, you will learn what actually kills people on this road, and what gives you a chance to reach the end alive. This is not a story about glory. It is a guide through one of the most dangerous migrations in human history. You don't wake up to an alarm. Alarms do not exist. You wake up because you are cold. It is the late 11th century, northern France, or southern England. A half-timbered house, a dirt floor, smoke from the hearth burns your eyes before you even open them. You smell this world immediately: damp straw, sweat, wood smoke, sour milk, something faintly rotten. This is not poverty. This is normal life. A crowded continent. Modern people imagine medieval Europe as empty and wild. It wasn't. By the end of the 11th century, Europe is overcrowded. Too many people, too little land. Farming methods are primitive. The climate has been unstable for decades. One bad harvest is not an inconvenience. It is a death sentence. Peasants have no reserves. Cities are small, cramped, wooden, and constantly on fire. There is no sewage system. Water comes from rivers that also carry waste. But the real problem is not dirt or hunger. The real problem is no future. The feudal system is simple, brutally simple. Everything goes to the eldest son. Land, title, castle, authority. Younger sons get nothing. Your options are limited. Enter a monastery. Become a mercenary. Live in the shadow of your older brother, knowing you are surplus. Thousands of young men with swords, training, and nowhere to go. That is not an army yet. That is potential energy. And then God enters the conversation. In November 1095, something happens in the French town of Clermont. A man stands before a crowd, Pope Urban II. We do not have his exact words. We do have the result. He speaks of desecrated holy places, Christians suffering in the east, Jerusalem lost and defiled. And then he offers something unprecedented. Participation in the expedition means full remission of sins. Not symbolic, not partial, complete. For people who live in constant fear of hell, this is not theology. This is an escape hatch. When the Pope finishes, the crowd erupts. Deus vult, God wills it. The idea escapes all control. Before kings raise armies, before logistics are planned, before supplies are gathered, people start moving. Not soldiers, a mass, and they follow a man with no title, no army, and enormous influence. You are moving inside a column. It has no clear beginning and no clear end, no headquarters, no supply train, no real command. It simply flows along the road like a living organism that does not know where it is going, only that stopping means death. Behind you there is smoke. Ahead of you there are rumors. You are no longer home, but you are not at war yet, and this in-between state is the most dangerous one of all. What people later call the People's Crusade is not an army and never was. It is a mass of peasants carrying farm tools, women dragging children, the elderly, beggars, and a small number of minor knights who possess neither authority nor discipline. This movement is not led by a king or a general, but by Peter the Hermit, a man capable of igniting belief but incapable of controlling outcomes. He can inspire crowds to move, but he cannot make them obey. Peter the Hermit is thin, ascetic, relentless. He rides a donkey. He speaks simply, emotionally, without nuance. He does not explain doctrine. He paints pictures: blood, suffering, salvation, apocalypse. People follow him because belief is not the only force at work. Desperation is. Columns move through Germany, Hungary, the Balkans. Tens of thousands, possibly more. Food runs out. Looting begins. Local populations fight back. This is the first moment when doubt appears. God is not intervening. For the first weeks, survival depends on what people brought from home. Bread hardens into stone, fat turns rancid, grain disappears. Then something inside the column breaks. People begin to lag behind, to fall sick, to steal. Hunger erases morality faster than ideology. At this stage, the most important rule becomes brutally simple: never let anyone see that you have food. Eat at night, behind cover, alone. If someone notices, they will take it and sometimes kill you afterward, just to be safe. Along the Rhine, the Crusaders encounter Jewish communities. Mainz, Worms, Speyer. As the columns move through towns of the Holy Roman Empire, the crusade crosses a line it will never step back from. Jews, outsiders, the wrong kind of neighbors suddenly become targets. The logic of the mob is horrifyingly simple. If we are marching to fight the enemies of Christ, why are they still here? Pogroms begin. Not everyone participates, but almost everyone remains silent. And that silence matters. From the very beginning, this is not a clean, holy mission. It is an uncontrolled social explosion. When mass violence starts, the only viable survival strategy is disappearance. Do not argue. Do not moralize. Do not try to save people openly. A religious mob is no longer a collection of individuals. It is a process. This matters. From the very beginning, the crusade is not a clean, sacred mission. It is an uncontrolled social explosion. The knights watch and wait. The true feudal leaders, the men who will later command disciplined armies, watch with growing concern. They understand something important. This chaos threatens the entire project. But it is already too late. What you should do right now. If you are here, do not preach, do not shout slogans, do not display excessive zeal. The safest role is the oldest one in Christendom, a silent pilgrim. In the Kingdom of Hungary, local patience finally runs out. Looting becomes systematic, villages burn, people die. The response is fast and organized. Hungarian forces are not fanatics. They are disciplined professionals. Entire groups of crusaders vanish without records. This is where positioning becomes life or death. Do not march in the vanguard, do not fall into the rear, and never stand out. The safest place is the second or third line, near wagons, close enough to protection, far enough from attention. This is the moment when illusions collapse. It becomes clear that this is not a journey protected by divine intervention. There are no miracles, no supply lines, no clear destination. There is only forward motion, because turning back now feels worse than death. Shame becomes a stronger force than reason. The Balkans introduce another shock. These lands are Christian, but not Latin, and that difference is crucial. Locals speak different languages, follow different rites, and look at the Crusaders not as liberators, but as an invading horde. Explaining who you are only increases suspicion. The fewer words you use, the safer you are. Silence, nods, and payment. When possible, work better than any speech. Disease becomes the most consistent killer. Dysentery, typhus, infected wounds. People die within days without combat, without heroism. Bodies line the roads, quickly becoming part of the landscape. Water turns into a strategic resource. Drink only from flowing sources, avoid stagnant pools, and if possible, mix water with wine or vinegar. This does not cure disease, but it lowers the odds of dying anonymously by the roadside. When the remnants of the People's Crusade finally reach Byzantine borders, imperial authorities already understand what is coming. Emperor Alexios I Komnenos does not see allies approaching his capital. He sees a disaster. The Byzantines do not trust you, do not admire you, and do not pity you. They want only one thing, to move you across the Bosporus as fast as possible and away from Constantinople. Once the crowd enters Asia Minor, illusion finally dies. Turkish forces move faster, strike from a distance, and avoid chaotic melee. This is not a battle, it is a slaughter. Most of the People's Crusade is destroyed without ever understanding what went wrong. If you survive this stage, you have already learned the most important lesson of the entire journey. Faith without organization is fatal. The armies that follow knights, princes, counts will be harsher, colder, and far more disciplined. They will also be effective, precisely because they learned from this catastrophe. The People's Crusade ends before the real war even begins. You stand filthy, exhausted, and alive, and that alone is an achievement. Ahead lies Constantinople, a city that will redefine your understanding of civilization and force a question that will follow you for the rest of the journey. Who is the real barbarian here? This act does not end with war. It ends with loss of control. Kings have not yet marched. Battles have not yet begun. But blood has already been spilled. Ahead lies Constantinople, a world that will show you just how backward you truly are. You approach the city and realize, almost physically, that everything before this moment was only a prelude. This is not a camp, not a fortified town, not a wooden wall hastily reinforced with fear. This is Constantinople. Stone fortifications stretch beyond your field of vision. Towers rise with calm confidence, not theatrical intimidation. The harbor is dense with ships, merchant vessels, patrol boats, imperial transports moving with purpose, not panic. You are still outside, but you already understand the rules here. You are being measured, not as a hero, as a variable. For Emperor Alexios, the first Komnenos, you are not arriving as allies or pilgrims. You are a logistical problem advancing toward his capital. Byzantium has fought wars for centuries, but it fights them with treaties, gold, intelligence networks, and supply systems. What has reached its borders now is none of that. No discipline, no hierarchy, no restraint. The empire does not want to destroy you. It wants to contain you, regulate you, and move you onward before you destabilize the city itself. Once you are allowed into the outer districts, the shock hits hard. There are bathhouses, real ones, with heated water and stone floors. There are physicians who do not bleed patients by default. There are clerks who count, record, and verify. You see silk, mosaics, glass windows, icons that look refined rather than crude. The uncomfortable realization follows quickly. The people you were told had fallen into decadence live for better than you ever have. This awareness is dangerous. It breeds resentment. It turns admiration into hostility. You feel watched not aggressively, but attentively. Officials track where groups sleep, where they gather, how much food they consume. Soldiers are visible but rarely intervene. This is governance without shouting, power without display. The city does not need to intimidate you. It simply needs to understand you well enough to manage you, and it does. One evening, you follow the smell of steam and soap into a public bathhouse on the city's edge. Inside, the noise is low and controlled conversation, not shouting. You hesitate, unsure of protocol. A middle-aged attendant gestures calmly. No words. You remove your filthy clothes, expecting ridicule. None comes. In the warm chamber, you realize something extraordinary. People are clean. Not ceremonially, but routinely. A merchant discusses grain prices. A clerk complains about taxes. No one talks about God. No one talks about war. Life continues here on schedules, not omens. When you try to pay, you offer a Western coin. The attendant weighs it, frowns slightly, and hands it back. He points to another coin on the table, lighter, standardized, imperial. You exchange it at a nearby counter. No shouting, no cheating, just procedure. You leave cleaner, calmer, and quietly shaken. This city does not run on faith or frenzy. It runs on systems, and systems outlast crusades. Formally, you are all Christians. In practice, that means very little. Latin crusaders see the Greeks as subtle, corrupt, and dangerously soft. The Greeks see the Latins as loud, dirty, and barely civilized. Languages differ. Rituals differ. Even the sign of the cross is made differently. Every gesture carries potential offense. The smartest strategy is silence. Speak only when spoken to. Nod. Accept correction. You are a guest, and a temporary one. Byzantine officials insist on oaths. Crusader leaders must swear that lands taken from Muslim control will eventually be returned to imperial authority. To Byzantines, this is simple logic. To Western knights, it feels like humiliation. But without Byzantine ships, supplies, and guides, the expedition dies here. This moment matters. It plants a seed of betrayal that will grow later, slowly and violently. Years later, an Achaemenid will describe you with unsettling accuracy, brave, devout, and uncontrollable. She will not romanticize you, and she will rarely exaggerate. To Byzantium, you are not epic heroes. You are a natural disaster to be managed through administration. Different rules apply here. Do not display strength. It invites containment. Do not display weakness. It invites exploitation. Avoid theological debates. Never compare rituals. Do not stare at women. Do not bargain aggressively. The safest position is as a silent companion to someone important. Alone, you are nothing here. The empire does not delay you. The faster you leave Europe, the better for everyone. Ships ferry groups across the Bosporus into Asia Minor. In minutes, the familiar continent disappears behind you. This is the true point of no return. This is no longer pilgrimage. It is a war of distance, climate, and endurance. On the Asian shore, everything changes. The land opens. The air feels different. There are no welcoming towns, no church bells, no familiar markers. The enemy does not shout. He watches from afar. This is where it becomes clear that Constantinople was not a reward. It was a warning. You leave behind the greatest city you have ever seen, a place where another life might have been possible. Trade, service, stability. But history has already chosen for you. Ahead lies Asia Minor. There will be no bathhouses there, no physicians waiting with clean water, no clerks keeping records. There will be space, heat, and an enemy who fights better than you are prepared to admit. The moment you step onto Asian soil, something fundamental changes. Europe ends not with a border, but with habits. The roads disappear. The villages thin out. The air feels sharper, drier, less forgiving. This land does not welcome travelers, it tests them. The familiar rhythm of churches, fields, and towns dissolves into open space where distance itself becomes an enemy. This is where you must abandon European assumptions. Do not expect regular settlements. Do not assume tomorrow's water source exists. From now on, every march must be planned around where you will drink, not where you will sleep. If the column moves without water discipline, people will die before the enemy ever appears. Constantinople is already behind you, and with it the last organized system that might have saved you. From now on, every mistake compounds. There is no bureaucracy to correct you, no reserve to cover failure. Asia Minor does not punish instantly. It wears you down slowly enough that you underestimate it. This is not the Europe you know. The terrain is wide, broken, and deceptive. Hills hide movement. Plains offer no cover. Shade is rare. A short route is often a trap designed by geography itself. Never march at full pace in the first hours of the day. Heat will punish impatience. Experienced units move early, rest at midday, and advance again late afternoon. If your group ignores this rhythm, detach yourself slightly while maintaining cover. Heat exhaustion kills faster than arrows. Here, battle is not announced. No banners, no horns. The land itself becomes part of the enemy's strategy. The Seljuk Turks fight a war of distance. They do not seek decisive clashes. They seek exhaustion. Horse archers appear, strike, disappear. One arrow, one scream, then silence. Never chase, ever. Pursuit breaks formation, and broken formation means death. If others run forward, let them. Survival here belongs to those who hold position, not those who seek glory. Armor becomes a curse. Helmets fill with sweat. Mail burns skin. Horses collapse under heat and thirst. This is where you learn a brutal truth. Superiority in courage means nothing without superiority in logistics. At midday, your group reaches a shallow valley marked on the map. Someone swears there is a well nearby. He heard it from a local weeks ago. The column slows. Men break formation. Helmets come off. Throats burn. You find the well, or what used to be one. The stone lining is intact. The bucket is gone. At the bottom, only mud. Someone tries to dig. Another collapses from heat before finishing. The decision is made too late. The column moves on weaker than before. That night, 3 men die quietly. No wounds, no arrows, just thirst. Never trust second-hand water knowledge. If locals say there was water, assume it is gone. Wells are strategic targets. If you rely on rumors, you gamble with lives. Asia Minor does not need to kill you directly. It only needs to remove options. In Europe, you could sometimes steal, sometimes trade, sometimes beg. Here, settlements are fewer and poorer. Locals hide food or flee at your approach. You are not seen as liberators. You are seen as a temporary disaster. Every extra mouth is a problem. Every delay is fatal. Change ration earlier than feels necessary. Most columns wait too long. If rations are cut before desperation sets in, morale suffers less than when food vanishes overnight. Starvation kills bodies. Sudden hunger destroys cohesion. Food spoils quickly in the heat. Grain attracts insects. Meat rots within hours. Horses eat more than they are worth, and yet without them, the army slows to death. This is the arithmetic of campaign warfare, and Asia Minor enforces it mercilessly. Fear here is not explosive. It is constant. You do not panic. You decay. Morale drops without a single decisive moment. Men argue over water, over routes, over leadership. Faith turns inward and brittle. Prayer becomes negotiation rather than hope. Avoid loud despair. Groups fracture around pessimists. Stay near people who speak little and act predictably. Emotional discipline is as important as physical endurance. You begin to understand that discipline is not about obedience. It is about surviving boredom, fear, and exhaustion without turning on each other. At one point, a local guy joins your column, thin, quiet, dressed plainly. He never speaks unless spoken to. He points when asked. He drinks sparingly. He never walks in the center of the group. One afternoon, he gestures sharply and leads a detour off the main track. Some protest, others follow. Minutes later, arrows strike where the column would have been. 2 men fall from the rear. No charge follows. That night, you try to thank him. He is gone. You never learn his name. But you learn something else. The people who survive here are not the loudest or the bravest, they are the most attentive. In Asia Minor, the most valuable people are those who avoid attention. If someone survives by staying quiet and observant, follow their behavior, not their words. Every mile costs lives, not dramatically, but statistically. 1 man with heat stroke, another with an infected blister, a third with a wound that would have healed in Europe but festers here. Foot care becomes critical. A ruined foot equals death by attrition. Dry feet whenever possible. Treat blisters early. Share ointments. A man who cannot walk becomes an anchor that slows everyone, and anchors are cut loose. There are no heroic deaths. There are only subtractions. This is why the Turks do not need to win battles. They only need to let you keep moving. Courage in Asia Minor looks nothing like courage in Shangsungs or sermons. It is not charging. It is not shouting. It is staying in formation when your body demands rest. It is not breaking ranks to chase shadows. It is trusting orders even when you do not understand them. If you feel the urge to act heroically, pause. Heroism is expensive. Survival is conservative. Those who cannot adapt die quickly. Those who adapt change forever. By now, the land itself feels hostile. Hills look like ambushes. Valleys feel like traps. Even silence feels intentional. You stop seeing nature as neutral. Everything becomes potential threat. Constant vigilance drains energy. Rotate watchfulness when possible. Exhausted alertness is worse than brief rest. The enemy expects fatigue, do not give it freely. This constant vigilance drains more energy than any battle. By the time you emerge from Asia Minor, you are no longer the same person who crossed the Bosporus. You have lost weight, illusions, and certainty. You have gained caution, patience, and an understanding that survival is rarely glorious. Ahead lies Antioch, a city, at last. Walls, shelter, a place to stop moving. You do not yet know that stopping will be even worse. Antioch rises from the plain like a statement. Massive stone walls crawl over hills, reinforced by towers that seem less like fortifications and more like declarations of permanence. This is not a city built to be taken quickly. This is a city designed to outlast you. Inside the walls live tens of thousands, Muslims, Christians of Eastern rites, merchants, soldiers, families who have survived empires changing flags above their roofs. Antioch has seen Romans, Byzantines, Arabs, Turks. It does not panic easily. You, on the other hand, are already exhausted when you arrive. The moment you see a city this strong, abandon hopes of a quick victory. Your enemy is no longer the people inside the walls. It is time. The crusaders surround Antioch, but surround is generous. There are gaps everywhere. The army is too small, too stretched, too disorganized to fully encircle the city. Supplies cannot be sealed off. Messengers slip through. Food still enters. Winter approaches. Incomplete sieges are deadly for attackers. If you are not in a unit assigned to fortifications or supply protection, relocate closer to leadership or logistics. Isolated camps starve first. Leadership is divided. Bohemond of Tatanto wants Antioch for himself. Raymond of Toulouse wants legitimacy and honor. Cooperation exists, but it is thin and fragile. The camps around Antioch are not cities. They are temporary wounds on the landscape. Tents rot. Fires burn constantly. Smoke hangs low. Latrines overflow. Disease spreads quietly. Food becomes the central obsession. People begin eating. Horses, dogs, roots pulled from frozen ground. Eat early, not late. When food scarcity becomes visible, violence follows. Those who adapt their diet first survive longer than those who cling to familiarity. Morale fractures unevenly. Some men become fanatics. Others collapse inward. Faith becomes volatile. One morning, bread is distributed unevenly. A rumor spreads that one camp received more than another. A fight breaks out. A man is stabbed over a loaf barely enough to last a day. That night, guards double around supply wagons. Starvation turns allies into threats. Stay neutral in disputes over food. Hunger-based conflicts escalate faster than ideological ones. From the walls, Antioch's defenders watch patiently. They do not taunt often. They do not waste arrows. They know time is on their side. Inside the city, markets still function reduced, but alive. People argue, pray, trade. Life continues. Outside, you decay. This imbalance is psychologically devastating. Never fixate on the city's abundance. Resentment drains energy you need to survive. Focus inward on routines you can control. As hunger deepens, visions spread. Saints appear in dreams. Prophecies circulate. One relic promises salvation. Another promises victory. The most famous emerges when a peasant claims to have found the Holy Lance. Hope surges. Morale spikes. Emotional highs during sieges are dangerous. They often precede catastrophic decisions. Do not volunteer for reckless assaults during religious euphoria. Faith becomes weaponized not against the enemy, but against doubt. Victory does not come from strength. It comes from betrayal, A guard inside Antioch agrees to open a tower gate. Bohem negotiates in secret. Leadership fractures further. When the city finally falls, it is not taken cleanly. It collapses inward. Cities taken by betrayal erupt into chaos. When walls fall, stay with your unit. Do not rush ahead. Most deaths after a breach come from confusion, not resistance. The city is yours and immediately becomes a trap. Looting explodes. Revenge follows. Order vanishes. Then the gates close. An even larger army approaches. Kaboga of Mosul marches toward Antioch with a force far greater than yours. The besiegers become the besieged. During the counter-siege, a group attempts to break out at night to find food. The gate jams. Torches flicker. Panic spreads. Arrows fall from the darkness. Only a few return. Desperate sorties rarely succeed. Risking the gate risks everyone inside. Hunger tempts escape. Discipline preserves life. Inside Antioch now, there is no escape and no supply. Disease worsens. Corpses pile up. Water becomes foul. The city that once symbolized safety becomes a coffin. During counter-sieges, ration earlier than ordered. Commanders delay out of fear of unrest. Those who prepare quietly live longer. Fear turns inward. Accusations spread. Leaders are questioned. Faith fractures again. Against all logic, the crusaders march out to fight Kaboga. Hunger has removed alternatives. This time, discipline barely holds. Miraculously, the enemy breaks. Historians will debate why for centuries. You will not. You are too tired to care. Antioch stands behind you, scarred and silent. You survived starvation, betrayal, visions, and 2 sieges layered on top of each other. You are alive, but something essential is gone. Ahead lies Jerusalem, the goal that justified everything. You no longer know whether reaching it will save you or finish you. The final march toward Jerusalem is shorter than everything before it and heavier than all of it combined. The land grows harsher again. Water is scarce. The sun feels personal. You move not with anticipation, but with inertia. The idea of Jerusalem has carried you for years. The real city approaches in silence. This is the phase where people die from carelessness, not combat. Exhaustion breeds mistakes. Guard your routines. Drink when allowed, not when desperate. Stay close to your unit. The end tempts people to rush, and rushing kills. Jerusalem appears suddenly, pale and unreal against the hills. For a moment, everything stops. Men cry. Some kneel. Others stare, empty-eyed. This city has justified every hunger, every death, every betrayal, and it is still standing. The walls are strong. The defenders are prepared. The governor, Iftikhar ad-Dawla, knows exactly what kind of enemy you are and what you lack. Emotional peaks are dangerous before sieges. When morale spikes, discipline drops. Do not volunteer for the first assault. First assaults are where enthusiasm goes to die. The Crusaders lack almost everything required to take a fortified city. No siege engines, limited timber, few skilled engineers. Water sources outside the walls are controlled or poisoned. The solution is desperation disguised as ingenuity. Wood is dragged from miles away. Ships are dismantled at the coast to build towers inland. Men work under fire, sweating, bleeding, hallucinating. During construction phases, stay assigned. Wandering invites arrows. Heat stroke kills quietly. Cover your head. Rotate labor when possible. Pride has no value here. Leadership narrows. Decisions concentrate around figures like Godfrey of Bouillon and Raymond of Toulouse. Rivalries persist, but the city forces alignment. One afternoon, you meet a local Christian who offers water for a price that feels criminal. Men argue. One tries to force the skins away. The seller leaves. That night, 2 men die of dehydration. In siege zones, water is currency. Violence against suppliers eliminates future supply. Pay when you can. Negotiate quietly. Pride kills faster than thirst. The assault begins at dawn. Towers roll forward. Ladders rise. Arrows fall in sheets. Fire spreads unpredictably. You climb not because you believe, but because standing still means death. Never be first over the wall. Never be last. The first die immediately. The last are cut off. Survival lives in the middle. When the walls break, order collapses instantly. What follows is not strategy. It is release. The city explodes into violence. Killing becomes indiscriminate. Homes, streets, sacred places, none provide safety. The line between soldier and civilian dissolves. This is not unique to Jerusalem. This is what happens when years of restraint snap at once. During sack phases, visibility is danger. Blood marks you. Noise marks you. Stay with a small, disciplined group. Lone movement attracts death from enemies and allies alike. You shelter briefly in a narrow doorway while chaos floods the street. A man runs past, wounded. Another follows and does not see you, neither notices you. You stay still until the noise fades. Stillness is survival. Motion attracts attention. Attention kills. By evening, Jerusalem is taken. There is no cheer, only exhaustion. The city smells of smoke, iron, and rot. The dead lie everywhere. The living move like ghosts. The goal has been achieved, and it feels hollow. Post-victory periods are lethal. Discipline relaxes. Disease spreads. Accidents multiply. Treat victory days as hostile terrain. Leadership turns to governance. Titles are debated. Power is redistributed. Godfrey refuses the title of king, choosing a symbolic role instead. The arguments are fierce but subdued. Everyone is too tired to fight openly. Political transitions are unstable. If you are not protected by rank, stay invisible. New orders create new enemies. When the numbers settle, you realize how few of you remain. The crusade did not fail, but it consumed itself to succeed. You are alive. That is all you have won. Jerusalem stands behind you. The road that brought you here cannot be walked again, not by the same person. You set out to save your soul. You learned instead how fragile bodies, faith, and order truly are. If this guide has taught you anything, it is this: survival in a crusade is not about righteousness. It is about restraint, adaptation, and knowing when not to act. History remembers victories. It forgets how close they came to total collapse. Now, you know better.